There it was, carved not by time but by deliberate hand, a perfect Templar cross etched into the wall of a Nabatean tomb. Deep in Petra, far from France, far from Jerusalem, where it had no business being. No pilgrims came here, no battles were fought here. And yet, in the crimson heart of this forgotten city, a mark forbidden by both church and empire lies hidden in the stone. Why, who carved it? And what gospel lost or silenced did they carry with them into this ancient desert labyrinth? Not every mystery arrives with trumpets and torches. Some wait quietly, hidden in rock, in shadow, in the curve of a forgotten symbol that should not exist where it does. What we're about to explore is not a tale of conquest or dogma. It is the tale of an erasure and those who tried to resist it. The sandstone walls of Petra glow with the color of dried blood at sunset. Towering facades rise not from the earth, but are carved straight into its body temples, tombs, and monuments, chiseled by Nabatean hands over 2,000 years ago. It was never meant to be found again. Not like this, and certainly not by the strange men in white cloaks who arrived centuries later speaking Latin in hushed voices and vanishing by dusk. This story doesn't begin in Jerusalem, nor in Rome. It begins in the silence between history's official records. The years the Knights Templar spent in anonymity before power found them before kings feared them and long before they were burned. It is during those forgotten years that whispers place them not in Europe, but in the sands of Petra, searching, digging, perhaps hiding something they were never meant to possess or preserve. In a city that defies time, surrounded by carvings that echo stories never canonized, a new picture begins to emerge, not of what the Templars were, but what they might have protected, and the gospel they may have carried, one carved not in scripture but in stone. Before we venture further into the shadows, take a moment to subscribe so you never miss a secret that history has tried to forget. You rarely hear about their first decade. For most, the story of the Knights Templar begins in 1119, 9 men pledging themselves to protect pilgrims, a noble order forming in Jerusalem. But that tale is smooth, convenient, and curated. In truth, the Templars didn't officially gain recognition from the church until 1129. That's 10 full years spent as a nameless, unsupported band of men living under Solomon's temple, if the chroniclers can be believed. 10 years, 9 nights, no papal blessing, no known missions, no formal patronage, just silence and digging. So much digging. Some might say it was humility, a monastic preparation for their later glory. But there's a scratch in that story, a snag in the fabric. Multiple accounts refer to this band of knights not patrolling roads or guarding convoys, but tunneling, searching. One Arab historian, writing decades later, describes a group of Franks who burrowed like foxes beneath the Temple Mount. Another European pilgrim wrote of a new brotherhood that kept neither vigil nor song, but moved with torches beneath the stones. This quiet obsession has led to wild theories, most of them colorful, most of them conveniently unsupported. Lost scrolls, hidden relics, even the Ark of the Covenant, the stuff of novels. But amidst all the noise, one unsettling pattern persists. The earliest Templars seem to have been looking for something. And whatever it was, they never explained it. Not even when they were asked. What complicates this further is a document buried in the Vatican archives, a grant written in the early 1130s, years after the Templars had become a recognized military order. In it, a French abbot references certain knowledge entrusted to the brethren from the lands of Edom. Edom, the ancient name for the territory that would one day include Petra. Odd, isn't it? A decade of mystery under the Temple Mount, followed by a cryptic reference to a knowledge from Petra, and then suddenly a meteoric rise in power influence and papal favor. It gets stranger when you consider who might have sent them there. One of the earliest sponsors of the Templars, Count Hugh of Champagne, famously relinquished his lands to join their cause. But before doing so, he traveled multiple times to the Holy Land and possibly beyond. A lost letter from Hugh to Bernard of Clairvaux contains the line, "They showed me a city of red and stone, hidden in the hollow of the mountains, and in its silence she waited." Who she was, we don't know, but later texts from Templar archives refer to the bride in oddly reverent language, sometimes capitalized mid-sentence. Not the church, not Mary, but someone or something else. Skeptics will tell you it's all metaphor, poetic license. Perhaps. But when multiple founders of a military monastic order begin whispering about desert visions and hidden brides, it's hard not to raise an eyebrow or two. And there's another detail worth losing sleep over. A 14th century Arabic chronicle from Damascus speaks of a foreign knightly band who entered the lands near Wadi Musa, not to wage war, but to meet with the veiled ones. No record survives of who these veiled figures were, but the location aligns uncomfortably well with the Petra region. And the Templars, supposedly rooted in Jerusalem, were not known for diplomatic detours into uncharted desert. Now here's the real knot in the thread. A carving discovered deep in Petra's lesser-known quarters depicts a group of robed men, one of whom carries a square shield bearing a cross. Not a local cross, not Byzantine, not Roman, but one unmistakably resembling the Templar cross. The carving is primitive, worn down by centuries of grit, but the design is oddly precise. What it's doing there, no one has adequately explained. Even mainstream historians now admit the story of the Templars doesn't begin with the clang of swords or papal seals. It begins in silence, in gaps, in deserts, and in the quiet obsession of a few men who left no clear record of what they found, or who they met. So what if Petra was never just a Nabatean relic? What if its emptiness was deliberate, preserved, not forgotten? And what if the first Templars knew exactly what lay beneath the red stone long before the rest of the world remembered the city's name? It would explain the missing decade. It would explain the obsession with secrecy. And it might even explain why